Welcome back to a third lesson of the class. Here we're gonna continue from our first two lectures, specifically on how to better utilize the tools around us, understanding that everything is a tool, depending on how and how much we learn and understand about those tools that will help prompt us to be able to use those tools more and more efficiently. Um, but that's only half the puzzle. We also have to be someone who can be the master of ourselves, allowing us to actually get up, walk out, and utilize those tools that are around us. We find ourselves lacking in motivation sometimes, or rather, difficult to get out of bed, get out of our couches, or do anything, even though those things are something that we dream of. Now it's something that we desire, and it's something that we'll be sure of that it will give us happiness, success, and fulfillment. True or not is a different matter, but in our mind we believe so. This is where we have to ask ourselves, what then will help me get out of couch every day? What then will help me push forward to actually leveling up? We often find that coming here to the class, listening is tough enough already. Again, there are so many different interesting things, wonderful experiences you can indulge yourself in. Watching movies, eating wonderful food, going out to hang out or party, all these things that we love and enjoy. But to let go of all of that and to sit down and to listen, be it with 100% attention or while you're walking, jogging, or transporting. Just having that want to give up other alternative for this is something worthy of praise enough, because it's not easy for us to do. Even when it's tough enough, actually putting into practice is even more tough. So how can we actually follow through with our intention every single time, or at least most of the time? That's why we're gonna go back to the past two lectures to see the things that we have learned and how can we utilize those two lessons into solving this problem in front of us. Firstly, it's about precept or normality. Again, just to recap, it is how we operate and present ourselves, and how much of that is part of us. When you look at yourself, who you are normally, some people might have a really dishonest image of themselves, believing that they are great or wonderful. Those images are true, but not always. Of course, there are wonderful shining moments in your life that hold you up to that standard, or even a period of time where you're really, passionate and really going, but not all the time. So the way we can properly gauge ourselves is to look back at our routine in in all the things and all the activities we engage in, to see the percentage of different type of person you are throughout the day. Waking up in the morning, brushing your teeth, cooking, dressing up to go to work. Are you using those time mindfully? Are you using those time with clarity, knowing that with every action that you take, you are moving toward your goal, even if it's a little bit? Are you making the most out of each activity or not? Or is it a matter of routine, stagnation, just going on with the motion, not being able to utilize the time, the resources that we take for granted in this beginning morning routine? Throughout our day, when we go to office, go study, or whatever you do, how are we utilizing those time? Are we actually absorbing ourselves of the different learning studies that we are involving in? Or are we taking those time for granted, just believing that we're gonna go to work, to study, just to get it over with? For those with the right mindset, the right, a productive, prosperous, Normality, they'll make every single use of it just by telling the mind or having an intention before they enter all activities. For example, if I were to get up and wash my face and brush my teeth, I will say, you know what? In this tool, seemingly mundane activity that most people don't give importance to, I will try to be mindful while I wash my face, brush my teeth. Although you complete the same activity at the end, but it's different. It's a massive difference between not putting an intention at the very beginning. When you go for a jog, are you having intention to go for a jog to actually feel the essence of the tranquility, the calmness, the feel of energization that you gain while you jog, or are you just gonna daydream? And what's the goal of that activity? And the most important thing, the thing that we do, the majority of the time is going to work, going to our occupation. We all don't think about how we are gonna behave. We all don't have a resolution to be the type of person we want to be. We all just go there thinking today is just like yesterday. I'm gonna go to work, have lunch with my colleagues, have fun, clock out, and just go to bed, looking forward for what's to come. But for those who is always want to level up themselves, they don't have to do much. They just have to tell themselves, order their mind, hey, in the next 8-hour shift in my workplace, I'm gonna be someone who have humility. If that is what you're working on, I'm gonna be the one who is truthful to myself, to my colleagues, if that is the virtue that you're working on. I'm gonna be mindful when I'm typing, when I'm in meeting in here and there, if that is your goal. Because just by setting an intention, your mind miraculously set a program, a system in place that help you remember your intended goal. It will help you unconsciously manage yourself in order to become that person that you wanted to become. But only if you tell the mind what to do first. When you finish your work, you come back home. Are you just gonna waste your time watching Netflix or do this, do that, and go to sleep? Or you might even do the same thing, but do it with mindfulness. Do it with a sense of taking a rest, enjoying, relaxing. This practice here never advocate for or never persuade or pushes people to change their life, but rather to teach them the benefit of different alternatives. But if they are not ready or they feel like they are at the right place, right time, how can we elevate that? By shifting our state of mind, making the best out of every moment. And this is the virtues, the mentality that will help change who you are and change your normality. You can see that when you have that clear internet goal, you are able to properly utilize the tools right in front of you all the time. For example, if you want to be someone who is helpful, compassionate in your workplace, whenever something happen in your office, be it big or small, your mind will remind you that, you know what, this small thing, that's a great opportunity for you to become someone who's compassionate. It's a great opportunity for you to help this person. Even if it's a small, kind gesture, but it's a step toward becoming who you want to be. If you want to be someone who is mindful while he or she's typing, writing, then every time you go to the keyboard, the mind will remind you, hey, it's time for you to practice this. This is what will help you automatically to change who you are effortlessly. The only effort you have to put in here is just to remind yourself, to constantly order yourself, this is what I want, this is my goal, and telling the mind so that the mind will rearrange itself automatically so that it will help you become that person. And the tools around you becomes useful. Whereas in the past, mundane, you see them as ordinary now. With that new mindset, new perspective, it becomes useful. Everything is a tool to help you elevate. This is why we're going to go through the rest of the fears in what I've talked about in the first lecture. The first fear I talk about, the Dhamma sphere, basically is the toolbox, where everything is a tool. That's what the word Dhamma means in this context, tools. Precept or Sila is one of the tools that we use to help elevate ourselves to change who we are normally. From decreasing our destructive, unwholesome, suffering inducing tendencies and reducing our stagnation, waste of time, and generally pleasing yourself. Those tendencies will reduce as long as you have a goal to change your normality to be the one that embodies prosperity, constructiveness, wholesomeness, and happiness. Every day, baby steps, bit by bit by bit. When we finally hold ourselves to a higher standard, faking until making it, looking ourselves in the mirror and seeing that person that we want to be. Although not true in the beginning, but at least if you do something about it, it's true in one at the first percentage. 1%, 2%, 3%. Not yet there, but getting there. That's why we need concentration, or we call samadhi, and the third sphere that I mentioned before. Samadhi or concentration, to concentrate on our goal, the person that we want to be, or the normality that we want to embody. Of course, this concentration will be lackluster. Now, throughout the day, you'll forget. Your mind will try its best to remind you, but it will have to be like that in the first few days. And that's all right. At least you are moving towards the goal, your intended goal, before you start off this journey where nothing happens. As you go along concentrating on that goal, that normality that you want it to be, you're going to have to learn from it. What are the pain points? What are the resources you use to help you become that? To learn and understand what works, what doesn't. Because it is the wisdom that you have to keep on accumulating to make your normality and your concentration even easier. As we learn something new about ourselves, about our conduct, about who we are, and what our negative or stagnant tendencies are, once it's highlighted, you will naturally have a goal to want to overcome it. Because you see them as a challenge, a problem, an obstacle to stop you or hinder you from getting to the place that you want to be. You will never have a sense of pressure or urges because those things that you want to tackle, even if it's a habit that you love so much, but now that you see that it becomes a hinder toward the true version that you want to be, it makes logical sense for you to drop it. It's difficult to drop your past habits, your past tendencies, but every day, whenever you go through the same habit every time, learn from it. Ask yourself, hey, it happened again. Why does it happen? What is the cause? And what are the consequences that follow afterwards? How much longer do I want to be like this? Don't fault yourself, but just raise a question, a topic of discussion for your mind. And you say, true. How long do I want to be like this? How long can I be jaded by the consequences that happen due to my actions? And that from that learning through trials and pains is what will help you grow jaded and release the attachment toward those bad habits. Just like little kids who love to play with fire until one day they are burnt a little bit by the heat, the flame of the fire. And when that happens, they know how painful it is and they will stop playing with fire until they forget and they'll play again. So they keep on doing it again and again until they it is ingrained in their heart, in their mind, that they shouldn't be doing so. So you see that Sila, Samadhi, Panya, or Precept, Normality, concentration, and wisdom all have to go together, to go in a cycle, a loop, again and again, so that once it is fully developed, you feel like you can go through the biggest trial of all, to change your lifestyle, to change that habit, to cut it out fully. It is the process of liberation is happening, a test, an exam, where it requires tremendous amount of endurance, concentration, and wisdom to teach yourself how can you maintain in this process of liberation. How can you help yourself maintain in this path so that finally you can stop and kill this bad habit of yours, or rather to attain a new positive habit that you're moving towards. This will be tough. It's very difficult for someone to move from one layer to the next, to change from one version to the next one. But through sweat and tears and many, many trials, maybe, when you finally able to achieve that goal, you feel happy, you find success, feel fulfillment. This rapture happiness of knowing that you are no longer the person of the past, but rather a new person's one again. Elevated, glass ceiling broken, another layer broken off. You gain a new life, a new perspective, a new confidence, a new self, just like how snakes, they shed their skin off. A new, beautiful individual. And then you start the process all over again. Looking around you, what are the new tools that I can utilize? What are the normality that I can elevate up so that I can then get a bit closer to who I want to be? Concentrate on that journey, that passion, or that goal that you want to go towards to. Learn and study every step of the way. How can I make it easier? Learn from your experiences, your failures, until you feel like you have overcome enough to take the exam, to cut out the bad habits, to make sure that is your new routine, and try it again and again and again until finally, eventually, you're able to bear the fruit of liberation. We call that Vimutti Yanatasana. Mm. We, when you look at the mirror, I don't, instead of seeing a tough, or rather, when you look at the mirror, instead of seeing someone who have to be tough, who have to be, who have to give it their all, who have to be all or nothing, rather you should see a small baby, a kindergartner who is taking baby steps toward their goal. What's the point of pressuring yourself? What's the point of putting yourself up to a standard that hurt no one but yourself? But if you look at ourselves as a kid, a kindergartner who every day never stop trying, bit by bit by bit, never faulting yourself, faulting your imperfection, then this is the way we should journey forth into being our true self. Remember that the tools around us are merely just tools. You are the user, but you are not the one who's making it happen. It is the tools that enable things to happen. And just like the water that people put sugar in, it's the sugar that make the water sweet, not the person who put it in. When you want to feel confident, you can think back of time that you're already confident of. If you want to feel safe, secure, think of the memories where you feel that you're in that place. When you want to liberate from this state that you're in right now, Think back on a time that you have been liberated, the time that you were so low in your own mind, locked up in some dark place, scared, shaken by illness, diseases, or by trouble that you have. And remember the day that you escaped that place, the day where finally, for the first time in your life, able to find the benefit, the gem that it is, that you found in the darkest of time. Think back of those moments. It will give you encouragement, and what's more importantly, the mind will try to reconnect you back to those precious times. Our memories, wonderful memories, are also tools that we can use that will help us reconnect back to where we once were. Although it might not be true right now, not 100% anyways, but as you concentrate on that feeling, that moment, the mind will make it happen. The concept of fake it until you make it is very true. But understand that making it is not a black and white thing, but rather a process that starts from 1% to 2 to 3 to 20, 30, 50, 80, 100. So therefore, if you feel like you don't know what to do, not sure where to go to, I have no idea what to do in life anymore, because right now it's just so much, so heavy. Just sit down and think back at times where you find that ray of hope, that happiness, and just think and know clearly that with that feeling, the mind will make it happen bit by bit by bit. It might not be as amazing as someone else's life. It might not be, but for those who been there before, in a dark place, when they see a small ray of hope, ray of light, a small ray of happiness, they know how important and powerful those happiness are to them. Once they were nothing, but now there is something. And that something, in a place where there's nothing, is priceless, invaluable. There's no word to describe that feeling. So although it might not be as amazing as other people, but we know ourselves how amazing those feelings are for ourselves. So therefore, this is one of the tools that you can use to give you motivation in these tough times. You'll see that every day we go through these 6 different frameworks, these different tools. Dhamma, by acknowledging that everything around us are just tools for us to reap the benefit of. To be able to utilize this the best we can, we have to use Sila or normality, precept as its basis of foundation, to stop you from becoming someone who hurt themselves and other people around them. But if you find yourself don't have to worry about precepts, then how can we elevate our already wonderful virtues that we hold? From good to great, great to amazing, and more and more and more. Once we have that normality as a goal, concentrate on it. Every day, set a goal. Order your mind. I want to be this person. This is my goal. Understand that a goal and a want is 2 different things. A goal is a destination, while want is the thing that propels you to it. It is possible that goal and our want is on the opposite direction. When I look back at my childhood, my goal is to be someone who doesn't have to work for the rest of his life. But my want is to play games all day. Yeah. So I'm in this place where I'm forced to go to school every day, from elementary to secondary, contributing to what I want, but it is toward my goal of becoming that person that I want to be. So therefore, understand that goal is one thing, wants is a different thing. As we concentrate on it, we learn something from it if you have a keen eye. A right, clear, mindful concentration, where you're gonna highlight the mistake, the new valuable lessons, the new things that you can teach yourself to make it better the next time around, the next hour, the next day, the next week. And this will keep on cycling through. Sila, normality, concentration, or samadhi, and panya, wisdom. These three things have to go together again and again, like a cycle, until one day you feel like you're ready to take the exam or process of liberation. We call it vimutti, liberation. When you're fully confident, you are wise enough, capable enough. Now just go in and do the exam. Sit and endure. Endure the pain, the urges from inside to go back to your old ways. Now this is a battle now. It's an exam because it will prove to you, can you break this glass ceiling or not? If you can, then you have a new life, become a new person. If you fail, no problem. It means that your normality, concentration, and wisdom haven't is not strong enough yet to help you maintain in the exam room. So go back to your drawing board to see, what am I missing? What am I missing here? Is it a problem or an obstacle? And do I need the one who knows or the one who's capable to help me overcome my problem obstacles? And with that, you take the exam the second time, third time, fourth time. Every time you do it, you learn something new about it. Until finally, if you don't quit, you gain new life anyway. And we call Vimutti Yana Hasana. So we come full circle of the introductory understanding and the 8-week course that we're going to go through. Everything that we're going to learn here will follow these 6 spheres or these framework that will help you best utilize the tools that you have, take the exam, and become a new person. Where we are going to concentrate on normality, concentration, wisdom. For these 3 things is what enable us to take the exam in the first place. For that, it is these 3 things that give us the fruit of liberation. So this will be the core of this 8-week course. In our life, when we study mathematics and science, we are not the one who prove all the theories out, but rather it is the talent of the teachers that teach us in ways that make it sensible, logical, where we can go through each note, each understanding, that make us say, you know what, that makes sense. From that sense making, we have faith to it, faith toward the teaching. And from that faith, you prove it for yourself. If it's right, then it becomes a fact. If it's wrong, then it also becomes a fact that it's wrong. No longer an opinion. So therefore, every information, take it with a grain of salt, but at least make sure that it's logical in the first place or not. That will help you create a wonderful question to ask back to a teacher. This doesn't make sense. Can you explain to me further? It will also help the teacher grow in his or her practice. It also helps you grow in your understanding and your peers too, as these questions are being addressed. Therefore, to conclude our introductory lessons, let me then recap again and recall again the story of a kid who wants to liberate from 6th grade to 7th grader. The kid here, me for example, have to first identify that there are so many resources around me, just like my teachers, different faculties, my friend, my family, and internet that will help me take the exam in subject that I feel like I'm not confident in. But to be able to take the first step, need to look back at myself to see, am I ready or not? Who am I normally? Do I have the normality, the tendencies towards bettering myself to make it very likely for me to pass the exam or not? That's why you do assess yourself what is the ratio between prosperity, wholesome and happiness, stagnation, waste of time, or the tendency to please yourself, and destruction, unwholesome suffering. The more we can uplift ourselves to make it straight toward the normality that help us take the exam, then the better. Because that will prompt you toward going out and taking advantage of all those resources. When you go out there, it requires you have concentration to make sure that you're actually using the resources in the first place. If you are able to get yourself to that point, but unable to listen to a teacher teach for 30 minutes, unable to read the article for more than 40 minutes, unable to do your homework for more than 10 minutes, then what's the point? Or rather, it's going to be not going to be as fulfilling as you hope it may be. When we are able to change and uplift ourselves, to change our normality, we find that it's a lot easier to take advantage of the resources around us, because our tendency is to level up, to bring ourselves prosperity, wholesome happiness increases. To make sure it actually happens, it requires us to have concentration on it. The more you concentrate, the more you can learn from it. That's where normality, concentration, and wisdom comes into play. Not only that you have to read the lecture once or twice, listen to the audio once or twice, but many times. Because every time you do so, you learn something new. But that new knowledge is not strong enough to take the exam yet. There are many lessons, many learnings that you go through that will have to be upkeep by going through these three different tools: normality, concentration, and wisdom. To make sure that liberation is at its easiest, the exam is very easy, and it really is to make sure that these three different tools are at its max level, meaning that your normality is up to the point where it can be utilized effectively. Your concentration up here also, so that you don't wander off in your studies, and your wisdom had to be up here so that it is equipped for it to answer all the questions in the exam. You'll find that when you are well prepared, sitting in front of the exam room, you don't have to have any fear or worries because you're well equipped. But for those who procrastinate and only read a day or two before the exam, then they have time to worry about. So therefore, it's truly is easy, and it really is, and it will make it easier when you're well prepared. The reason I'm saying that it's very easy is because you are not the one who's doing it, but rather the feeling, the clarity that is what pushes you to do it. When you feel like you don't want to study, you have no motivation, we try to find ways to bring ourselves motivation. And it is this motivation that pushes us towards studying. So it's not you who's dragging yourself to study, but rather motivation is what helps you do so. We're gonna learn how we can get that motivation, that strength, the mental strength for us to be in concentration, to move forward our practices. When you take that easy PC exam, or with flying colors, you'll find that after a day or two, or even immediately after you finish doing it, you find yourself becoming a new person, where in the past you always fail in this thing, but today, for the very first time, you didn't. For the very first time, you're able to go to bed early, or not smoke, or whatever it is that's your goal. So therefore, you can see the change right away, and this change will keep on being better and better and better. What if you go backwards then? No problem. You beat it once, the second time shouldn't be too difficult. Like, you learn, you know already the secret of getting you to the place that you want to be. Now you get a new lesson. What won't allow me to remain in that place? And that's going to be a new skill, a new learning that will help you maintain what you have already attained for yourself. I want to make sure that you, in this first week, you have a goal. Some people already have a goal in their mind. of what areas that they want to improve in, be it in their personal life, in their career, or in their spiritual journey. If for you have that goal already, great. Write it out. Make it tangible. So that every day you look back and you can tell your mind, hey, this is who I want to be. Or else then you'll forget. You'll forget because sometimes life does get easier and you'll forget why you want to escape in the first place or why you want to get better in the first place. So have this goal written out somewhere. If you don't have a goal, that's all right. We know that having a goal is good because you know where you're going, but to walk the walk, you need to have these different tools ready and up and running. So therefore, instead of focusing on what you want to be, let's focus on what tools you want to enhance. Is it your normality today? Is it your capability or your concentration? Is it recognizing different tools around you? Is it the wisdom that you want to improve? By enhancing your own tools, this is also a tool in itself that will make it easier when you finally realize what you want to be, because the equipment is all polished and shiny up. So therefore, write it down, make it clear to you, this is what I want. And if you have time, write down the steps. Make 4 different columns. The first one, the Dhamma, basically the tool in the toolbox. Break it down into 2 different columns within it. The one that you're going to use when you have problems because you don't know. These things will help answer your question for you. The second columns are the thing that will help you overcome obstacles. Write everything down. Be it people, things, animal, institution, resources, doesn't matter what it is. List them down in different columns. It can exist in both too, because there are some people who can help you answer question and help you overcome obstacles too. We find that these individuals are our parents when we're young, our teachers when we are studying, and our employer that when we are working. Now, with that said, then let's do normality next. Be truthful to yourself. Who am I normally? If you were to put a number, a percentage on these 3 different columns within that Sila, how much will you give? The first column about prosperity, constructiveness, wholesomeness, happiness. The first column. The second column, stagnation, waste of time, amounts to nothing, or the tendency to please yourself. How much of it do you have? Pleasing yourself basically means that if it gets tough, the mind will say, you know what, let's go for a break. And you say, sure, why not? If you want to go for a walk, even though you have something to finish, you would rather go for a walk instead. And that's called pleasing the mind, pleasing yourself. So if you have a lot of that, write it down. How many percentage do you think you are? And finally, the third column in Sila, destruction, unwholesomeness, suffering. How much of that do you have? Where everything you do degrades down and become destructive. The next column will be about concentration or samadhi. For this one, you're going to have to gauge yourself. If I were to work on something, how long can I concentrate for? This way we're going to have a starting point to see your beginning concentration. Just like in PE or physical education, we have a studying before and after. This is the before one. To see that every day, every week that passes by, have you able to improve in this column or not? And also, to make it more thorough, have different activities that you like, you dislike, and you have a desired aversion to see the different amount of concentration you can have on it. If you were to ask my child self, I would say that the concentration I have on studying or reading is close to nothing, but the concentration on playing games is as long as I can. So therefore, remind yourself that you do have concentration, but on different things. So it will also highlight to you about your normality as well. And finally, wisdom. What is it that you know? What is it that you have right now that will help you kickstart this project? If you don't, then know that you don't. It's okay to not know anything, because I also myself start off from knowing nothing until I met my teacher. Then I start to know something from it. With this, you know clearly that, oh, I need to improve in this area, improve my wisdom. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but rather something that will help motivate you to move forward, so that you can achieve your goal that you desire. So thank you very much for watching. For our next lecture, we're gonna finally conclude this 4 lecture or 3 lecture saga that we're gonna set as a main framework for the 8 weeks to come, so that all of you have a better understanding of what I meant by 6 different fears, their roles and their responsibility, and how they work together. So thank you for watching.